Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about things, phrases and words that American would never say and would never use. So if you're interested, continue watching this video. Thing number one. If Americans want to tell you something directly, they would only tell you a positive thing. They would never tell you, oh my god, you look so bad today, are you sick or something? Because this is really impolite. And I know in some cultures, especially in mine, people would do that. They would tell you, oh my god, your dress is ugly, you should go change. Of course, not everyone, but this is pretty common, especially when people are trying to seem helpful, but they're still kind of offending you. Like, oh my god, have you seen that bruise on your neck? Let me tell you how to treat it. And you were like trying to hide it. I don't know. So this is not something that Americans would do. The furthest that they would go about your well-being, they would ask you how you're doing today. And if you're in the mood to share things, then you would share and they might offer their help. But they would never say something bad or offending directly. They would just be very polite and they would think about your like private space. On the other side, they would be really direct about positive things. Like, oh my god, I love your dress. And this happens all the time. I just walk in the street and people would come up to me and tell me like, hey, I love your jacket, where'd you get it? Or like, oh my god, your dog is so cute. And I would just thank them and I would just, continue walking. And this is great. I love this culture of giving compliments to strangers in the street. I think it's great. Number two, what I noticed here is that people are really focused on themselves. They would not waste their energy on telling you how you should live, on telling you where you should work, on advising you what pills you need to take to look better or what you should do to look better. They are really focused on their well-being, on their job, on their family, and they don't want to waste their energy. And I think America is one of the most tolerant societies I've ever lived in. And it doesn't matter if you're immigrant, transgender, have an accent, don't have an accent. If you're not hurting anyone and behaving in a good way, people are not gonna tell you anything. And this is what I love. This, what I mentioned right now, like not wasting energy on others, has been such a big revelation for me when I first went to the UK from Russia. And what I'm mentioning here is pretty much common in the UK, Canada, Australia, English-speaking countries, some European countries. And when I first went away from my country and I realized, wow, I can be whatever I want. I can wear whatever I want. I can talk the way I want and people wouldn't tell me anything. I was just amazed how much freedom that gives you. And you're just flying with your dreams. You're doing whatever you want and you're not afraid of the society judging you. If you want to go through the same transformations or the same experience, linguatrip.com. My managers are doing free consultations on language trips abroad. So if you don't need a visa to travel to Europe or like Great Britain, Ireland, you can plan your trip in 3 or 4 weeks. If you do need a visa, it takes 2 or 3 months these days, depending on where you are. So plan ahead, but you can also go to Malta, which is like a European zone. A lot of countries don't need a visa for Malta. The link is below. They're gonna help you, free consultation. They're gonna help you find the right school and find the right course. Now let's go to the more scientific part of this video. I'm gonna talk about phrases and words that Americans no longer use and that we still somehow learn at school. Number one, I'm a pupil of the 5th form. No, never. People no longer use pupil here. They say student. I'm a student. And when we're talking about forms, which is grades of the 8th grade, so we replace form with a grade. And basically when somebody's at school and they want to talk about their school or which level they're on, they would say, I'm in high school. Or I'm in kindergarten or whatever. So they wouldn't tell you I'm a pupil of the 5th form. Just drop it. The next word that was in all of our textbooks, supper. Come on, there are 3 meals a day, unless you eat like 5 times, but whatever. If you eat 4 times a day, there is brunch, like breakfast and lunch. There is lunch, which is in the middle of the day, 12 p.m., 1 p.m. And there's dinner, 5, 6, 7 p.m. depending on your schedule. There is no such thing as supper. Supper is something really formal. For example, you're graduating from Oxford University and you're told that this huge event, you have to wear a gown, men have to wear a tuxedo, and you have to be all formal. This could be called supper, but they will still most of the times refer to it as formal dinner, and this is what is widely used in America, formal dinner, not supper. Next thing, approaching people and asking them something starting with madam or ma'am. I see this all the time, especially from students from India. I know this is maybe in your culture, but in America, nobody asks people something saying madam. Maybe if I'm in a hotel, like a 5-star hotel, and I'm talking to a concierge, he might say madam, but they would most likely say miss, not madam. So forget about it. Cross it out of your vocabulary if you want to sound more American. If you don't want to sound weird, don't say madam. And yeah. Just say miss, excuse me, Miss Mogilko, whatever, or use the name of a person. Like if you're texting, DMing me, or writing a comment, you can just use my name, Marina. That's it. The next phrase that we learned at school, how do you do? And they showed us this movie called My Fair Lady. And how do you do was so common in that movie. But the problem is, this movie is about the times, I think it was like early 20th century in the UK. So it was a long time ago. Doesn't have to do anything with current reality. So if you want to ask a person how he's doing, you ask him, how are you doing? What's up? Sometimes how are you? But how are you doing is more common. How's your day going? But how do you do it is too formal and a little awkward. What I see a lot is that people ask a question in a form of an affirmative statement and they end it with no and question mark. We're going to dinner tomorrow. No? It's gonna rain tomorrow. No? No. This is wrong. There is such thing as tag questions, which you can use and they are grammatically correct. It is going to rain tomorrow, isn't it? We are going to dinner tonight, aren't we? But again, this is really formal. I know it has been in your textbooks, but people don't really use tag questions when they talk to each other. They might use them in written English. I would just recommend you asking questions directly. Are we going to dinner tonight? Do you know if it's gonna rain tomorrow? That's it. Easy, grammatically correct. When you are talking to me, to your English teacher, sometimes you would say, excuse me, teacher, could you please tell me if I'm making a mistake here and there? So calling a teacher teacher, referring to a teacher as teacher, stops at the age of 6. So if you're in kindergarten and you have this teacher, you would probably tell him teacher. But if you're older than 6 years old, you would just refer to your teacher by name, which is pretty common if the teacher allows that, or you would call them their title plus their last name. Mr. Brown or Professor Smith. That's it, not teacher. Don't do it. Another thing, I was talking to an American, and this is a very subtle thing. Like, you're gonna understand me if you're upper intermediate, advanced. This is subtle. So he was like, could you pass me a cup of tea? And I'm like, yes, of course. And what he told me is that if you're an American, if you're a native speaker, you would just say, of course, sure, here you go, or just yes. If you are saying two confirmations like yes and of course, it sounds a little aggressive. Like, yes, of course. What did you think? I wouldn't pass you a cup of tea? Like, this is what's going on in their head. Of course, they would never tell you that they were offended or something. This is super subtle. They wouldn't even like notice it, but this is something that's going on in their head. Like, if it's yes, of course, it's like, what do you think? It's so hard for me to pass a cup of tea? Yes, of course, here you go. Like, too many confirmations. I think that's the thing. So if you're just passing tea to someone, to say, of course, sure, here you go. One of those phrases. That's it. Mother tongue. They will totally understand what you mean, but nobody actually uses mother tongue. Everybody says, my first language is Russian. My native language is Russian, but I would never say my mother tongue is Russian. Well, I used to say that. I used to say that when I was back in Russia. Then I came here and I realized people don't say mother tongue. And I know it's in every old textbook. Forget about it. When you forgot a word and you're asking your native speaker friend, how do you call this? Ma'am. Wrong. Because when you're asking about something's name, you say, what do you call this? What do you call this? We call this hard drive. What do you call this? Not how do you call this, okay? Shh. Bye-bye, hard drive. Okay guys, I have a question for you. If you've ever been to an English-speaking country, can you please name down in comments below a major difference that you've noticed? Because this is not something that they would write about in textbooks. And I am willing to put together a second video based on your comments and mention you in that video. This would be really, really useful for me because there are things that I notice as well, but they're not too clear for me. And maybe if you reiterate them in comments below, I'll be like, of course, that's true. And then I'm gonna mention them in my next video. So please comment down below with this one big thing that you've noticed that is different about either English language spoken by native speakers, or maybe some manners and some cultural differences that you've noticed. Thank you so much for watching this video up to the very end. If you want a free consultation on a language course abroad, the link is below. My managers from LinguaTrip will be happy to consult you. And I will see you very soon in my next video. So if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, red button, and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.